two expansions, our installed capacity will more than double to 200,000 tons per year. Good news is that now we have been working with a Chinese company called Nutriera for snakehead.
Start off with, what is the vision of UnoFeeds?
When we started UnoFeeds, there was no big vision at all. We were basically fish farmers, but then we always had the interest of doing something different. My first venture had been with packing of fish. Previously, as you know, all the fish from Andhra Pradesh was transported towards all over India using plastic crates. And then we wanted to change the system which would give more value. And internationally, if you see, most fish is packed in EPS or what we call as thermocol boxes. But when we went to the thermocol manufacturers, they said it was too expensive, it's not possible to give at a price that is competitive to the use of reusable plastic crates. But then we went ahead, but we know the potential of the Andhra Pradesh fish industry. If you have a solution that is acceptable to the farmers, the volumes that you can expect is very high. So we took that into account and put up the first EPS fish box manufacturing unit in Bhimavaram. We were making only 200 boxes per day, which was very low, but still we priced it as if we were selling 2,000 boxes. So the industry accepted it, and today I can say after 10 years we have more than 15 units making 30,000 boxes per day, and almost 50% of the fish is being packed in EPS boxes. So this has saved a lot in reverse logistics. Previously, when you send it in plastic crates, you used to bring the boxes back. Now it is no longer necessary. And we wanted to do the similar thing for fish feed. When we started extruded fish feed, we had international players like CP who were making extruded feed in all other countries, but they were not introducing it into India. Whoever we spoke to, they said extruded feed is a very expensive feed which may not be viable for the Indian market. But based on our confidence with EPS, we thought if we have the right technology and minimize our overheads, we can give a good quality extruded feed at an affordable price. So we went ahead with buying the best machinery of a commercial scale, but we reduced the other overheads like the building, etc. And then we could survive and we could give to the farmers a very affordable product. And based on the success, now as you know, almost more than 50% of the freshwater fish farming has shifted to the use of extruded feeds.
What is the current capacity of UnoFeeds, and what are your plans for expansion in this area?
Right now, UnoFeeds has a production capacity of 100,000 tons per year of fish feed, and we also have a small line of shrimp feed which we have recently started, which has a capacity of 10,000 tons per year. But right now, we have two plans for expansion. One is that our unit at Bhimavaram is being also expanded, and we are also in the process of putting up a new unit in West Bengal, and this will start commercial production from January. With these two expansions, our installed capacity will more than double to 200,000 tons per year.
So your West Bengal plant will focus mostly on the fish feed?
Yeah, the West Bengal plant is exclusively for fish feed, and because of our renewed focus on fish feed, we have scaled down our expectations for shrimp feed, and for the next 2 years we would like to focus more on fish feed itself.
Fungaceous has been the game changer in the industry in many ways. And going forward, how do you see these changes percolating among the farmers?
See, the impact of Fungaceous can be seen in two ways. One is the most obvious way, that Fungaceous is now the second largest farm species in India. That is the one significant change that Fungaceous has brought about. Secondary impact of Fungaceous introduction is that is the major reason for the introduction of extruded feeds. If we had only Indian major carps, maybe there was no need for setting up an extruded feed plant. But because of Fungaceous, we have put up this extruded feed plants, and with the availability of extruded feed plants, now there's a potential for more number of species to come up into the Indian market. And now we have tilapia that has come about, and there are more species in the pipeline which can be bought into the aquaculture fold, and these changes would not have been possible without the availability of extruded feed, which would not have come unless we had Fungaceous.
With regard to the Indian domestic market, the consumption, do you see an increased acceptability for fishes without any intramuscular bones now?
When we look at the market for fish, I would basically like to look at it as two different segments. One is the consumption of fish in the house, and the other is out of home, which would be like restaurants, caterers, and other places where we consume fish. Fish consuming markets like West Bengal or Orissa or in Assam, the preference for fish without intramuscular bones is not so high. I mean, they still prefer to have the traditional fishes like hilsa or carps, which have a lot of intramuscular bones. But it is the other sector of the population, like people who are used to eating marine fishes, which normally do not have intramuscular bones, where the preference is for such kind of fish. And especially, unfortunately, the species of fish that we have introduced without intramuscular bones, like Pangasius and Tilapia, are both aligned to India. So although they have been introduced, most of the consumers still are not aware of the names of these fishes. So you don't see them being bought in the fish market for home consumption. Most of these fishes are only going for out-of-home consumption. And for the home consumption of these kind of species to go up, either we need to focus more on marketing them, or we need to introduce domestic species which do not have intramuscular bones, and to bring them into the culture practice.
But while the market is expanding at a very slow pace, we also have certain imports from countries like Vietnam, Basa for example. Now, why do you think that the Indian fish costs more than that which is imported from Vietnam?
If we look at the farm gate price of fish, the same Pangasius fish in India and in Vietnam, you see that the Indian farm gate price is more or less competitive, or in fact cheaper than the farm gate price of Vietnamese fish. The processing stage is where we are lacking, and our production costs in the processing sector we cannot match with Vietnam, because they have the economies of scale, and they also have a major portion of the fish going for exports to European countries where they get a premium, and we can really say that the kind of fish that cannot be exported to US gets dumped into the Asian countries. And the other thing is that because of the kind of culture scenario that we have, where we don't practice any water exchange, there is a yellowing of the flesh of the Pangasius that we culture here when compared to Vietnamese. So to look, the Vietnamese Basa looks more attractive than the Indian. So these are the two main points why India is unable to compete with Vietnam in terms of Basa. So I think unless we add more value to Basa, it's really difficult for Indian farmers and processors to compete with Vietnamese Basa, in spite of the 30% duty that we have.
Coming back to UnoFeeds, you have been focusing on a large number of fish species. So, what are the specialty feeds that you have?
Right now, because of the volume considerations, we have two categories of feeds. One is what we call as freshwater omnivore species. We have a single kind of a feed that is suitable for tilapia, Pangasius, and Indian major carps, all four of which are basically freshwater omnivores. So more or less this kind of single feed is suitable for all these four, unless and the market is not mature enough to have special feeds for each of these species. And most of the farmers also practice polyculture of these species, so it doesn't make sense to have tailor-made feeds for these species. The other category we have is for carnivorous species, and out of these, sea bass and pompano are what has been promised by the department, but the volumes have not picked up for these kind of species. We do market a little bit of these feeds for trout in the Himachal Pradesh and Sikkim, but the volumes are quite low. But the good news is that now we have been working with a Chinese company called Nutriera for snakehead. And at this point I'm happy to say that the initial breeding has been successful, and we have more than 1 lakh numbers under grow out now, and they have been weaned to floating feed, and then we have big plans for increasing the hatchery capacity for next year. And so I think this year we'll be producing more than 100 tons of snakehead completely on floating feed, and I think in the next 3-4 years this species has a lot of potential.
You are now a new entrant basically into the shrimp feed segment with Unomai. How has the response been?
if you see the market, most of the farmers that have that culture fish are also shrimp farmers. Like in the same part of their farm, they might have some fish ponds and some shrimp ponds, or sometimes they can go alternate cycles of fish and shrimp. So that has been our major, because we had a lot of fish farmers and they were also buying shrimp feeds. So we didn't want them to go to some other company for buying shrimp feed. So that was our main intention of starting shrimp feed, so that we can cater to our existing farmers. But as such, we didn't have major plans of being a large shrimp feed player. So what we did was we put up a very small unit to cater to our existing client base. So we continue to do that, where our existing fish feed farmers are supplied good quality shrimp feed also. But because of our large plans for new species of fish and for increasing the marketing of fish feeds in northern India, we are not focusing so much on shrimp feed.
Now, what about the functional feeds? Are you entering into that segment?
Fortified feeds or specialty feeds as a category for shrimp feeds, I think a few people have tried, and I think there is a scope for such kind of specialty feeds in the shrimp feed, because the shrimp farmer can afford to pay a premium provided that function is served. When it comes to fish feed, unfortunately in India, the kind of species that we make, they are still the farmer still struggles to meet ends meet, and there are definitely challenges in the fish feed sector also, especially the Argillus complaint in carps and columnaris and other bacterial diseases. But in spite of several trials we have done with many other additives, we couldn't find any additive that we can confidently say that will cure these kind of diseases. So right at this moment, we are not planning of any functional additives or special feeds for fish.
So, if the aquaculture development in India, other than Andhra Pradesh, which other states do you think hold promise for the future?
For aquaculture in India to flourish, we need two factors. One is the production. The parameters that are required for producing fish has to be conducive in terms of land availability, water availability, and climate. And the second thing is market. Being near to market, there is a possibility of selling the fish live and getting a premium. So those states which have both these factors, that is conducive climate for production and nearness to the market, will have the greatest potential. Lack of either of these things will not be very conducive. Like take the example of Andhra Pradesh, we have the right climate and the other factors for producing, but the markets are slightly far away. If you look at states which have both these things, I feel West Bengal would be the number one state for having the large market and a relatively conducive climate, and the northeastern states also hold very huge potential in terms of Assam, and all these northeastern states have availability of water and a very big demand for fish. And the third comes Orissa. I think these three states has huge potential for the future.
In the state of West Bengal, the state government has actively tried to popularize formulated feeds for the past 2 years, and it is now that farmers are gradually shifting into that method, and you have been very positive about that, obviously with the setting up of a new feed plant. So do you think West Bengal is ready to go large scale intensive farming?
Not just the government of West Bengal, most of the states with the active support of NFDB have been promoting feeds. They are making them available to the farmers, but because they are not, but the other thing other than availability of feed, the second factor is the availability of good quality fingerlings. And then the whole idea of promoting culture in West Bengal has to be to cut down the time to market. AP farmers can afford to grow fish for 9 months, 10 months, and if required to 18 months. But in places like West Bengal, for farming to pick up, fish culture should be completed ideally within 3 to 4 months. To supplement the efforts of the government, I think once we have the feed mill there, we'll be hand-holding the farmers by supplying them good quality fingerlings also, along with the good feed and the technical support, which is right now lacking, and so that the farming would be much more successful.
So you would be coming up with your own hatchery?
No, because as you know, fortunately West Bengal is one of the biggest places for hatchery. The only thing is that what we plan is to have our dedicated fingerling ponds. So where we buy the fry from the existing hatcheries, grow them to a good quality fingerlings and supply them to the farmers along with our feed so that they can complete the culture within 90 days. That is our target.
And in terms of carbs, hybrid seeds, how much of a problem is it?
See, although we have a mixed supply of Katla and Rohu, normally in the hatchery the practice is to have Rohu and Katla separately only, and you do that. And you find, and if you see in Andhra Pradesh, where you never encounter this kind of problems, where farmers go for pure Rohu and pure Katla, and where they might mix it according to their requirements. And these kind of problems do occur only in places like West Bengal, which are not yet developed, where the farmers just go for stocking of large number of small size fry. As I told you earlier, our main focus is to change the gap in the fingerlings, and where based on the productivity of the pond, we would have a fixed ratio of different combination of different species, where the farmers are advised to stock them exactly in that ratio to get the maximum production. So in our farm, basically we would be having different fingerling ponds for each different species, and we'll be supplying them separately so that they can stock, even if they stock them together, they can stock them in the right ratio.
You're also talking about cold water fisheries. Now, do you think there's a good potential for cold water fisheries in India?
There is a potential for cold water fisheries, but you cannot no way compare them with the potential that we have for warm water fisheries. There's a limited potential for trout in some of these tourist locations. I think that potential can be really be fully utilized when it is combined with tourism. So you cannot market trout, which is a very expensive fish, to the general public. But what we are seeing is that most of the people who have hotels in say Kulu, Manali, they have a small, we encourage them to have a small raceway, and where they grow their trout, and which is the table size trout is sold at their own hotels, and maybe you can develop a little bit of angling or that kind of it. Have a potential, but not on the large scale that we see with warm water fishes.
Between cage farming, pond cage farming, or in terms of mariculture or indoor farming, which one do you think has potential in India?
I think India is still a long way away from indoor raceway kind of system, which are quite expensive, and we have a lot of water available. I think the next, after pond farming, I think in pond cages or cages in reservoirs are the best bet actually. And the success of marine cages again depends on, we don't have a policy where an entrepreneur can have a cage in the open seas and open oceans. So unless that comes out, and we also have solved the problem of good quality seed for marine species, I don't think mariculture also can progress to a great extent. So I think only the cage culture is a good chance for interior states.
You have the feed segment. You're now coming up with a hatchery, of course, for a particular species. Are you planning to venture into processing?
We have been watching with interest the processing segment for the last 3-4 years, but the feedback that we are getting with people who have already ventured is not at all encouraging. Like you mentioned earlier, Basa is the only species that is being processed on a large scale right now, and they are unable to compete with the imported Basa from Vietnam. And then the other thing that we have actively watched is the tilapia space. But even now, the acceptance of tilapia for the fresh tilapia is much higher than that of frozen tilapia. So right now, we have no plans for entering the processing side. But one thing we are actively considering is to have to revamp the retail sector of the fish, where we can have maybe we are looking at a concept where we could transport these live fishes and sell them on a retail level. There are people who are already doing it, but we want to change the system to make it much more efficient and much more effective way, where we can have small holding tanks of live fish which could be distributed to many places. Like we hardly have say 1 or 2 places in each big city, whereas you see that for chicken maybe you have 500 shops in a city, but you have 1 or 2 live fish retailing outlets. We want to make the system so simple that every chicken outlet can also have a live fish holding tank. So let's see how it proceeds.
Tilapia, people say that if grown with Vanamai, gives added benefits to Vanamai also. So do you see this kind of farming increasing?
Many people have really, I mean, if you study the literature, especially the effect of tilapia on Vibrio is documented a lot of times. So many people have tried it, but even we have tried it ourselves. But we don't, it might improve the water quality to a certain extent, but we don't see it as a solution for all the problems that are plaguing the Venami industry. So even when you stock tilapia, it is not 100% guaranteed that no disease comes to the Venami thing. Unless the market for tilapia improves, I don't see this sector coming up.
You had written an article on why fish feed prices are high and why they're likely to remain high. So, how do you see the feed prices? How would they be in the next 1 year?
Yeah, definitely. If you see the last 3 years has been a tough time for the feed millers. 2 years back, it was globally there was a shortage of soya meal, so the prices were high. But last year, the international prices have corrected. Like they were down to around $325 a ton, whereas in India we were seeing up to $500. India is the only country where currently the soya meal price and corn price, which are the principal ingredients of animal feed, are more than 50% higher than the international prices. But luckily, I think this year this crop, which is due for harvest in the next month, in October, is supposed to be again a record level crop. And because the export scenario is also not good, we expect the soya meal prices to align with the international prices this year. So hopefully, the feed prices also should come down proportionately.
So, finally, 3 years from now, where do you want to see UnoFeeds?
Right now we are one of the largest fish feed suppliers in AP market. 3 years down, we want to take this position to the national level. Right now, apart from Andhra Pradesh, especially in North India, the West Bengal and Assam, we are not a major player at all because of our unit location. We are not competitive with the other players who are located close by. I think with the commencement of our operations in West Bengal, UnoFeeds becomes the only player in India to have 2 extruded feed mills, both in North India and South India. We want to become a national player 3 years now based on our advantage with multiple located feed mills.
Also, your hatchery coming up, you'll be getting into more species.
We are busy for the last 5-6 years with the feed mill. So always the plan has been to bring a new species into the culture every 3 years or 4 years. So right now the focus is with snakehead, and the next is we are looking at Atroplus as our next target species, which would come maybe in 2019.
Thank you, Naveen Garu, for your time.